Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining our quick and impromptu coffee break here today. We're in the Birmingham office with Roberta.
Hello, guys.
And Roberta's going to be telling us a little bit about her role at the Digital Culture Network. So, digital accessibility.
That's right, digital accessibility. It's where it all starts, Dean.
Okay, right. Tell me, because I think I know a little bit about it, but I'm not sure if it's changed a lot over the years or what's coming up on the horizon. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your role?
Yeah, sure. So basically, digital accessibility is literally where it all starts, because if you're not making content accessible, then people can't use it. So it can be things like the UX experience, which is the user experience, but it can also be things that take into account things to make the content more accessible in terms of using it for a keyboard, or making sure you're using simple sentence structures, clear fonts that are good for dyslexic people, with the sans serif types. So there's some really simple things you can do to get started straight away. But essentially, making your content accessible means you're making it usable.
And when you say content, that's pretty much everything from the website to your print.
That's right, yeah.
To the video content. How do you how do you know what looks good and how do you know what looks bad?
Yeah, well, when you're thinking about accessibility, you're thinking about it in terms of your senses. So if it's not available to your, if you can't see it, can you hear it?
Right.
If you can't hear it, can you see it? And if you've got problems with your motility, or if you're experiencing barriers when you use your mouse or something like that, some people navigate a website using a keyboard.
Right. Yep.
So making sure that a website's keyboard accessible as well is really, really helpful.
So like tabbing across to through the menus and things like that?
That's right, yeah. So they'll use the tab key, and that will go through and activate all the links on the site, and that should bring up a little visual indicator to tell you where you are, and it's called a focus. Mm-hmm. And then you hit the enter key when you want to activate that. And it takes you to that content. And you can also scroll up and down with arrow keys and things like that. But essentially, if you can't get around your website with a keyboard, then it's not accessible. It's a really easy thing to check.
Right, okay.
So if you've got a form to fill in, or you've got things to do, that like buttons to click or links to go to, then that's a really good way to test your website with a keyboard.
And speaking about links and buttons, we've mentioned this in the past where it might be just click here. It's not very descriptive. So
if you imagine like you're using a keyboard, you're using a screen reader, and you're going through those links on the website by hitting the tab key, then every time you hit a new link with the tab key, it'll announce what that link is, but it won't announce anything around it. Right. So you've got no context. Yeah. So sometimes if an article just reads, read more, that's all that someone using a screen reader will hear. Yep. So it doesn't mean anything to them. So putting a bit of context behind that read more can really help people understand that it's where they want to go, or something that they'd be interested in reading more about.
And in terms of, you spoke about the type font as well. We've also, there's also colours as well which don't work particularly well with certain type fonts, whether it's a different colour on the white font.
Yeah, colour contrast is a massive issue sometimes, and people don't really think about it. But, like if you're putting text above images, for example, that contrast can be really close together in ratio. So you've got to make sure that there's a sufficient amount of, I think it's 3.1 contrast ratio is the minimum standard you've got to reach, just to make sure people can read it all. Sometimes text will be in front of a moving background or something like that, and it might be a bit of sky and it might be white text, and all of a sudden it just disappears.
Fades
so you can't
into
see
itself.
it anymore.
It's from somebody like, obviously I've done subtitles, closed captions before, and that's probably the limit to my accessibility. That's as much accessibility as I've pretty much done. Has this changed recently? Has there been sort of, how long's these requirements been going on for?
Yeah, well, it's been about, I think the web started around 1990, I'm going to say. And then the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines only started in 1999.
Oh, right.
And since then we've had we've had two versions. and we've had 4 revisions of those versions, and the last one's just happened, so we're now on 2.2.
Right.
And essentially, what they're saying now is pretty much approved to have the go ahead and be recommended to do. So with 2.2, it talks about the focus that you get on the links and making sure that they're at least 2 pixels and that they're really sufficient colour contrast, so that they're nice visual indicators and that people can see them. Sometimes you only get a very faint dotted line or something like that. So they're just making sure that people can actually see them and that they're useful. And then one of the other, there's a number of like updated revisions, but another one is making sure that your site can be used with a keyboard.
Playing devil's advocate, right?
Yeah.
If you're a small organisation who's maybe using a web developer or an external content creation company, or maybe you're doing it all in-house and you've just started doing it, is there a way that we can help them check their website, maybe look at what their website's currently doing and give them an idea of like quick wins that they can...
Yeah, absolutely. You can always reach out to me. I'm happy to do an audit, a light touch audit, give you some simple advice on the easy wins that you can do to get that content working better for you. And it's also things like, website. If you're using public money to fund your work or your creative practice, it's a really good idea to have an accessibility statement as well. So once we've done that audit work or looked at your site in terms of accessibility, we can then go on and create an accessibility statement for the site. And accessibility statements are basically telling people how to use the site, what has been checked for, the work you've done on it, and any issues that they might happen to come across. The ones that you know about. Sometimes, financially or technically, or sometimes it just might not be possible to fix these issues. But what you're doing in the accessibility statement is basically saying, we know this isn't great, but you can get in touch via this email, and we can help you in another way, or we can do something to make this more accessible for you.
Yeah, just recognising that. There might not be a magic bullet that's going to absolutely sort that.
Yeah, I mean, with accessibility, I think it really is progress over perfection. You're never going to get 100% of all the things done, because there's always going to be an edge case or something that you learn. If you haven't got lived experience, then it's things that you're unaware of or oblivious to. So it's always a case of just taking it step by step and doing what you can.
So what else can people use your services for?
So anything really to do with accessibility or user experience, or just making sure that website's performing the way that you want it to. I can help with audio described video content, live captioning, closed captioning for videos that are recorded. And I can do accessibility audits, like I said before, or perhaps you are writing a web brief and you need to know what technical requirements to put in for that spec.
That's true.
So,
I'm just thinking out loud about that half the time. It's just kind of having somebody else in your corner just to sort of say, look, we're going to be commissioning a new website. We don't want somebody to run away with it. What should we be thinking about?
Yeah, what do we need to look out for? And what should we write in that spec, basically?
Exactly, and also video content as well. It's like if we've done webinars where we've had a BSL interpreter, we've had somebody doing the captions. And
so many different variations of things that you can do to make your content accessible. And talking of BSL, there's a really cool website called Signly, and it's a way of interpreting your website with BSL.
Oh, right.
So basically, you tab through the content on there, and it's got a little video associated with each paragraph that someone's actually done some signing for. So you don't have to watch the whole page in BSL. You can watch it individually.
Nice.
It's kind of a cool little tool.
Right. I'm going to put a link then in the description. Right. So everything that we've spoken about, right, I'm going to try and get all the links in the description so that people can have a follow through, and just sort of see for themselves. But
there's also a really cool color contrast analyzer tool that I can
for somebody's website.
Yeah, and you can put all your brand colours in it, and it just gives you like a nice colour contrast grid, and you can basically switch off all the ones that are inaccessible, And then it gives you a little cheat sheet that you can use to basically, if you're doing a social media post, it's like, oh, I like the pink on the white. I'll have that one.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the difference between sort of like trying to find these out for yourself, and then obviously having somebody like yourself sort of like guide them through it.
And I'm good for just acting as a sounding board, or if you want some advice for a new project and you're thinking about accessibility, get in touch. We can have a chat.
Yeah, and just to just reaffirm, if you're in the arts and culture sector in England, then the services of the Digital Culture Network is free. So
free and unlimited.
And unlimited, yes.
And unbiased.
And unbiased. Yeah, we don't care. We'll tell you as it is. So they can get in touch with the link that's going to be in the description below. So if they need to book a one-to-one, they can do so on our website, which is where you'll also find some articles that you maybe have put up there already.
Yeah, and I've got a really good introduction to digital accessibility webinar, which we can put in the link below as well.
Yeah, excellent. So somebody can get started, and then once they maybe up to speed, the final step might be to maybe book a one-to-one.
Yeah, book a one-to-one, have a chat, tell me what you're doing, and it's something that we can have chats on over the years even. Yeah. I mean, you've been with the Digital Culture Network for a few years now, and we have people that keep coming back time and time again. And it's really good because that relationship grows. Our understanding of what they need and their audiences grows. So it's really good.
Excellent. Right, let's wrap it up there. We'll get back to work. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Cheers. And all the things we've spoke about will be in the description below, all the links. If you need to book a one-to-one, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll catch you again very soon. Bye.